Wow, what a crowd. More packed than the Hicksville Railroad Station. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Town Supervisor Joe Saladino. It's a pleasure to welcome the governor and welcome all of you here to Hicksville, the heart of the new renaissance in the town of Oyster Bay. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge some of the special guests that are here with us today, including Howard Zemsky, President and CEO of Empire State Development. Lionel Chitty, the Executive Director of the Hicksville Chamber of Commerce. Phil Lang, the President of the Long Island Railroad. Senator Elaine Phillips. Assemblyman Michael Montesano. My longtime friend, Assemblyman Dave McDonough. Assemblyman Chuck Levine. Assemblyman Tony Durso. Nassau County Legislators Laura Schaefer and Rose Walker. Suffolk County Legislator and President of the Teamsters 707, Kevin McCaffrey. Among my personal favorites from the town of Oyster Bay, our team, including Councilwoman Michelle Johnson, Councilwoman Rebecca Alessia, Councilman Lou Imbrodo, and our town clerk, James Altadonna Jr. Also with us today, town of North Hempstead, Councilwoman Anna Kaplan. And Kevin Law, the President and CEO of the Long Island Association and co-chair of Long Island REDC. John Durso, President of the Long Island Federation of Labor. Matty Arasich, President of the Building Trades Council of Nassau and Suffolk Counties. Mark Herbst, Executive Director of the Long Island Contractors Association. Mitch Pally, CEO of Long Island Builders Institute. Dave Capel, the Executive Director of Right Track Coalition. Eric Alexander, the Executive Director of Vision Long Island, as well as our many community leaders from Hicksville, throughout Long Island, our elected officials, and our friends of labor. Thank you all for being with us and being here for the governor today. This afternoon, we'll first hear from ESD President and CEO Howard Zemsky, and then we will hear from our good friend, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Followed by Hicksville Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Lionel Chitty, who will say a few words about the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Now, it is such a pleasure to welcome the governor back to the town of Oyster Bay. From addressing the cleanup of the Grumman Navy plume to transforming downtown Hicksville, Governor Cuomo has been a true friend. The governor is the driving economic force, and he's fostering an environment that our businesses need to thrive across the state and right here on Long Island. And he doesn't just talk about it. Governor Cuomo gets the job done. From cutting taxes to investing in jobs and opportunity, Governor Cuomo and our state senators and assembly members are delivering for New Yorkers. Today, we're here to talk about another groundbreaking initiative to unlock unprecedented economic growth here in Hicksville. So join me in welcoming the President and CEO of the Empire State Development Corporation, someone who continues to track economic growth for Long Island and for our state, someone who is incredibly bright, has a wonderful sense of humor, and someone we know is here today for all the important reasons, including the fact that he's on his way out to the Hamptons, Howard Zemsky.
Thanks, Joe. Good looking? No? Anything? All right. Hey, Long Island. Great to be back. Great to be here in Oyster Bay and Hicksville. I am a Long Islander, a proud former Newsday paper carrier, only 48 years ago. Any Newsday paper carriers in this audience? All right, good. I've been in business ever since. That was a great experience. Does anyone remember who caught the winning pass for Syosset against Hicksville in the football game 1977? I have no idea, actually, whatsoever. I think you guys won that year. So anyway, it's good to be back, and congratulations. I have some good news. Nothing says summer or the 4th of July week like a PowerPoint presentation. So I am going to treat you to it, but it's not very long. That's the good news. So here we go. You can find yourselves on that map, Hicksville. Our team at ESD doesn't think you could find where Hicksville is unless we highlight it for you. So there you have it. We received over 100 applications across the state. And from 100 applications, there were only 10 winners. So you did a heck of a job here. Not surprisingly, you guys won. I know you know that, but give yourselves a hand. You did it. You won $10 million, which is no small change. And you won it to help revitalize your downtown. And we chose 4 projects to invest the $10 million on. Before I get into the 4 projects, I just want to talk for 1 minute about the DRI and why we do the DRI and why the governor has been so supportive of this DRI. You know, I'm a Long Island guy, but I've lived upstate for 37 years. And one of the things that upstate has struggled with, and one of the things even that Long Island at times has struggled with, is keeping young people. You've had some flight of young people over the years, and we have had even more so in upstate New York. So economic development isn't just supporting companies. It's investing in the workforce, it's investing in innovation, it's investing in research and technology, but every bit as important is the governor's commitment to invest in downtown to create places and spaces that all people, but with a lens on young people. Because as somebody who lives somewhere where we've lost so many young people, if you lose your young people, you lose people of childbearing age, you continue to lose population. It's baked in your demographic cake. So creating great downtowns, focusing on green spaces, focusing on transit-oriented development, the investments the governor is making in rail to allow reverse commuting, all of these investments play an integral role in growing your economy, keeping young people, attracting them back. If you ask businesses, what do you want to see? I know they used to talk a lot about taxes. What they want to see is, where is the trained workforce, and where is the cool downtown, and where can people live? Where can they recruit talent to? So the DRI, it's more than nice projects. It's an integral, critical part of economic development, and that's how we see it, and that's how the governor sees it. So let me take you to the projects that we're supporting consistent with that description. The Hicksville Long Island Railroad Station, from this, which I know you all recognize, to this, an attractive $3.6 million for an attractive new entry drive for the Hicksville Long Island Railroad Station. You can give these projects a hand. There's only 4 of them, so go ahead. $2.6 million, again, to help transform the railroad station, to create new public open space adjacent to the LIRR station lobby to accommodate the twice daily surge of commuters. Give it a hand. From this at the railroad station to this, $2.5 million to construct a new pedestrian passageway and open space connecting the station lobby to Jerusalem Avenue and nearby parking lots. Let's hear it for that project. And $1 million to develop a mixed-use, transit-oriented development. And this is exactly what we're talking about. Mixed-use, transit-oriented development adjacent to the train station featuring ground-level retail and 200 mixed-income residential units. We have to have residential units that are sought out by young people and are within reach of young people. So transit-oriented development, mixed-use development, more vibrant downtown, retail, housing that young people can stay in. It's all an incredibly important part of economic development as we think of it. So I want to congratulate Hicksville. You guys did a great job. And this region of the state, the Long Island region, Kevin and Stuart and all the REDC members, economic development is a team sport. All the legislators, town supervisors, it has been a great partnership. And you have won through this competitive process over $500 million, supporting over 500 projects. Long Island has done incredibly well, and I'm not surprised. And what you have now in economic development, for the first time, is a governor who doesn't believe in Albany telling you what your economic plan or future is. He empowers you to develop your own plan, which you have done so incredibly well, investing in the assets that you know, your research assets, your water assets, your tourism assets, your technology assets, your financial companies. You have an amazing array of assets here. The governor has given you the opportunity to develop your plan, and not only develop your plan, but direct where the state resources go to advance your plan. And Long Island is doing amazingly well. You have an incredible friend, as the whole state does, but upstate New York, where I live, has gone through unprecedented change. And I have been involved in this REDC process with Kevin. Kevin's on the 8th year of his 2-year commitment. And to participate in it is an honor, and it is just such a privilege to see how these economies continue to advance. So I want to congratulate all of you and thank the governor and introduce the governor as one of the best friends Long Island has ever had.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be here. And just for the record, I'm not going out to the Hamptons after this. Not to say that Howard isn't, but I am not. Some of us have to work. First to Joe Saladino. We miss him up in Albany. He was a colleague for many years, as you know. And he was a great colleague, and he did a great job. But I think he's really found his niche in public service because he's hitting the ball out of the park. He did the application with Hicksville. That is a winner. We had 100 applications, as Howard said. 100 communities sat down and went through the same process that you went through, and only 10 winners. So you had to put together a hell of a plan to win, and you did. Joe Saladino, congratulations. Howard Zemsky, Long Island boy. I thought you were going to say you caught the pass. Since nobody knew who caught the pass, you could have said you caught the pass. Howard Zemsky, because he caught the winning pass in this Syosset-Hicksville game. To my colleagues in the legislature who make all of this possible, thank you very much. We wouldn't be here without them. They passed the budget that has these investments in it. To Lionel Chitty, thank you very much, Mr. Chitty, for your guidance and for your leadership. Kevin Law, Long Island Association, so many of you have been working on this for so long, our brothers and sisters in labor. You know, I am old enough to remember the history here, to bring a little perspective. For so many years, we talked about a Long Island development plan. And there were so many plans and reports and Newsday op-eds about a plan. First, you had the border wars between Nassau and Suffolk, right? Nobody would accept the concept of Long Island. You had Nassau and you had Suffolk, and you needed a passport to go from one to the other. And they were very protective of their jurisdiction. We got past the border war mentality, and we understood that Long Island was a region, and either the region is going to do well or the region is not going to do well. There was no theory by which Nassau prospers and Suffolk doesn't, or Suffolk prospers and Nassau doesn't. And then we had to get past the NIMBY culture that was so strong on Long Island, that we had tried to do projects so many times, and the NIMBY was so strong that it just became culturalized. And you would talk to people on Long Island about doing a big project, and they would say, you know what, that's a great idea, but we could never get it done because the opposition would be so severe. And we even stopped dreaming big because we just incorporated this concept of impossibility. Well, they'll stop us. Well, there'll be a lawsuit. So we didn't dream big. As soon as you stop dreaming big, you start going backwards because the rest of the world is progressing. I used to be HUD secretary, and I'd fly all over the country, and as I was flying into a town, I would count how many cranes and how much construction was going on. And that was a barometer of how that area was doing. Because either you're building and you're developing and you're advancing, or somebody else is. You see it nationwide now. You fly into airports all around the world, and you see beautiful airports and beautiful architectural masterpieces, and then you fly back to the United States and you land at LaGuardia, you know. And you say, what happened? This nation has that NIMBY syndrome. There hasn't been a new airport built in the United States in 20 years, believe it or not. LaGuardia Airport is going to be the first new airport in this country in 20 years. So we had to get past the border wars. We had to get past that knee-jerk, NIMBY, we can't do it, it's too hard, it's too big. And then we had to come up with a specific plan and a strategy, and everybody had to agree. Now, everybody never agrees on anything. So we had to get close to everybody agreeing. And that's what the Regional Economic Development Council did. It was just that, a Regional Economic Development Council. Kevin Law was the co-chair. Bring everybody together, hear everybody's idea, come up with one comprehensive vision, and let's go. And let's go. The first step actually had nothing to do with Long Island. The first step was getting the state's house in order. Because you cannot attract businesses or grow businesses on Long Island if the state has a big exit sign on it, if the state is perceived as an anti-business state. And for many years, we saw an exodus. We saw businesses leaving, we saw young people leaving. It was worse upstate, but here on Long Island also, because we were just seen as a state that was too difficult, too high tax, too anti-business. Why did they think we were too high tax a state? Because we were too high tax a state. Sometimes the perception follows the reality. And that was true in the state of New York. Well, lower taxes. Nobody believes you can actually lower taxes, that government is actually capable of lowering taxes. These colleagues in the legislature actually reduced state spending to a record level, lower increases than any time in history, and actually reduced taxes. Now, let me give you the numbers, then applaud. Lowest middle class tax rate up to $300,000. Lowest rate since 1948. Lowest corporate tax rate since 1968. Lowest manufacturing tax rate since 1917. Now you can applaud. Those are facts. There's no fuzzy math in there. There's no accounting for inflation. We spent less money. We brought down taxes. I know it's hard to believe because it's almost an oxymoron, government lowering taxes. I told my family at the last gathering what I just told you. My brother said, I don't believe it. Now, he's a journalist. He's kind of cynical and pessimistic, so those are facts. Government lowered taxes. And then we passed the property tax cap, which was essential, especially here on Long Island. The largest tax in the state of New York is what? Property tax cap. Property taxes, not even close to the state income taxes. And the property tax is the killer. Many homes, the property taxes are higher than the mortgage payment. Nassau County, one of the highest property taxes in the United States of America. Nassau and Westchester go back and forth for number 1 and number 2. But the property taxes, why can't you find affordable housing? Why are taxes too high? It's the property tax. We passed for the first time in history a property tax cap. Taxes can't go up more than 2%, or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. Why? Because you can't ask a person to pay more taxes if they don't have the money. If my income's not going up, and property taxes were going up 6, 7, 8%, if my income is not going up 6, 7, 8%, how am I supposed to pay you more taxes? If my home value is not going up 6, 7, 8%, how am I supposed to pay more property taxes? And we were in that constant cycle every year, 6%, 7%, 8%. People couldn't do it. At one point, you just couldn't do it. We said we're going to bring it down to 2%. Now, there was a revolution. Many of the local government leaders still send me hate mail 4 years later. But you know what? 98% of the governments in this state figured out how to live at 2% as opposed to 6, 7, 8%. They all figured it out. The same way every family had to figure it out in this state when their income didn't go up 6, 7, 8% and they had to make ends meet. The property tax cap saved people on Long Island billions and billions of dollars. And it's one of the best things we ever did. We got that under control. Once you get past the state obstacle, then it's what you do here on the region. Why? Because there really is no one state economy. We talk about the state economy. There is no state economy. We have 10 regions in the state. We have the Long Island region, which is very different than the North Country region, which is the Adirondacks, or Western New York, Buffalo. It's a totally different economy. It's a totally different region. There is no one plan that we can sit in Albany and come up with and say, this is the economic development plan for the state of New York. You have to do the economic development plan for Long Island. And you have to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and how do we relate to Manhattan and who are our competitors and what are our assets, and we'll build on them. But the orientation of the state had to be twofold. We will look to you, the region. We don't think we know best, which is very hard to admit. Some of the members of the legislature believed they did know better. None of them are here. You know best. We will defer to you. Second paradigm shift, we understand that government now has to help invest in businesses if you're going to attract businesses. Why? Because every state is competing for every business. It's unlike anything else I've seen. You have a big business person sitting there every day, they'll have a state cold call them. And Colorado will say, you know what, we'll fly you out here to Colorado. If you move your business, we'll give you this, we'll give you this, no taxes for the rest of your life. We'll get your kid in college. We'll send you to dinner with the governor, and we'll get you a date with a celebrity. Whatever they have to say to get you to change, they will. So it's a highly competitive economic environment. State of New York invested through your local regional plan that said, we believe we have a future in the biotech world. We have some great assets here. We have great academic institutions. We have great advanced manufacturing institutions. We have Stony Brook. We have Cold Spring. We have Brookhaven. We have Feinstein. We have Northwell. We believe we can create a new research triangle, what North Carolina did 20 years ago. We think we can synergize those institutions and really develop an industry around biotech, high-tech advanced manufacturing. And we said, fine, we'll defer to your vision, but we'll help you with the seed capital because it takes money to make money. We invested $6 billion in the Regional Economic Development Plan that Long Island came up with, and it's already creating jobs and paying dividends. That's the second step. Third step, especially here on Long Island, transportation is key. You cannot build or they cannot access your business if you can't get there. 30 years ago, the answer was easy. We get on the Long Island Railroad and you're there in 22 minutes. And that's what made Long Island, right? They built the railroad originally to access a ferry in 1834 to go to Boston, but it wound up being the commuter route that opened up Long Island. And then you had the Northern State, and you had the LIE, and you had the Southern State, and you could drive, you could take the LIE. Population got so large, it's overwhelmed your transportation network. And the Long Island Railroad got old. Well, let's fix the Long Island Railroad. Oh, that's hard. Why? Because then you run into NIMBY. And you have to go through all those towns and 900 approvals, and every mayor and every county and every local board says the same thing, do nothing ever. So it was too daunting. So for decades, we did nothing with the Long Island Railroad. And it just got old and it atrophied. And you know, when you hear those morning reports, Long Island Railroad is late, there was a problem on the track. That's literally correct. In some places on the Long Island Railroad, there's one track. God forbid a squirrel walks onto the track and has a heart attack, everything stops. Everybody's late for work. They have to send out a crew. They have to do an autopsy on the squirrel. Who knows how the squirrel died? Was it an accident? Was it a murder? Nobody can move the train. They put up the police barricades. How can it be? Well, to build the second track, that's now problematic. Runs back into NIMBY. A lot of neighbors don't want that. To build the third track, to provide more access, that's going to be even harder. To go back and provide more parking, oh, well, now you're talking about land use and zoning. It was daunting for decades. We got to a point where we said, if we do not do it, life is options. If we don't do it, we continue to atrophy. So we have to do it. And we came up with $6.6 billion to redo the entire Long Island Railroad. Second track, third track, 100 different projects, redoing the stations, putting in more parking, redoing the new trains, and it's happening, and it's happening now. It's in real time. It's not a plan. It's not I have a vision. I have a great dream. The shovels are in the ground. It's happening now. And the man, not that I like to put pressure on people, because I don't like to do that, but the man who was singularly responsible for rebuilding the Long Island Railroad, who will go down in history as either a great success or not, is here today, Mr. Phil Eng. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. No, I know Phil, and Phil is the man for the job. Phil worked at the State Department of Transportation. We had to build a new Tappan Zee Bridge. Everybody told me it was impossible to begin with. We got past impossible, and then they said it was going to be 12 years. I said 12 years is too long. I may be dead in 12 years. We got it down to 4 years, saved $1 billion on it, and that was all Phil Eng. And then he went to the MTA, and we had to figure out how to make a subway train run, and that was all Phil Eng. So the worst thing you can do is let me know that you have competence and capacity, and then I never let you go, and I keep giving you a bigger and bigger challenge. But there's no better person to do this than Phil Eng. We then had another issue on Long Island, which we knew about, but which we didn't address because it was expensive and it was problematic, and that is the quality of our environment. People move out to Long Island. Why? Because it's beautiful, and I have beaches, and I have parks, and I have water, and I can fish, and I can swim. And our water quality has been deteriorating for decades, and we've done nothing. It's our oceans, bays, it's our water, drinking water, because of the aquifer on Long Island. Things like the Grumman plume just sat there for 30 years, migrating to the ocean. We have the most aggressive environmental plan and water quality plan ever launched. We are doing about $2 billion in water quality restoration. As we sit here, we're attacking the Grumman plume. We're getting that garbage out of the water table. We're building new artificial reefs. We're building septic systems in Suffolk. We're making all that happen. But this particular development, I think, is really a model for the future, because Howard is exactly right. And this required a shift in perspective. My generation, my parents' generation, well, the dream was you grew up in a home in a city, and then as soon as you did well and you made a little money, you moved out to the suburbs, and you wanted your single-family home, you wanted your backyard, you wanted the patio, you wanted the barbecue grill, you wanted the 2-car garage, and that was the dream. And you grew up in Queens, or you grew up in Brooklyn. Many people, you moved out to Nassau, you moved out to Suffolk, and that you had the house, and you had the quality of life, and the park system, and the school system, and that was the dream. Shopping was all in big box stores and malls, and you got in the car, and you drove to the mall, and you bought your stuff, and you went back home, and you had the barbecue in the backyard, and that was life, and that was the dream. Not for the young people today, not for the millennials today. They don't see that. They don't want to do the commute. They don't want the big home in the backyard and to cut the grass. And they're not going to the malls. They're going on Amazon, and they shop on Amazon, and it comes to the house, and it doesn't matter where the house is. They want the exact opposite. They want walkable communities. They want density. They want everything proximate. They want to be able to walk to the restaurant. They want to be able to walk to the cafe. They want to be able to walk to the store. They want to be able to walk to the train. Transit-oriented development. That is the future. Not the future that I had in my head, but that is their future. They're more environmentally conscious. They're more time conscious. They're more productive. They don't want to sit on the Long Island Expressway and burn gasoline and burn 3 hours. They don't have the same recreational behavior. They want those walkable, dense, smart communities that they're called. And that has to be a new vision for Long Island. And that is exactly the vision that you have here at Hicksville. And it's a great irony. Hicksville was formed by Valentine Hicks because of the railroad. Valentine Hicks was one of the original members of the board of directors of the Long Island Railroad. And Hicksville was a big station, and that's why the town was formed. This is really a rebirth of that vision. Long Island Railroad Station, first of all, the Hicksville station is going to be rebuilt by the Long Island Railroad Transformation Plan, a $120 million reconstruction of the Hicksville station. The second track and the third track will run to the Hicksville station. This plan provides public amenities around the station, so it will be attractive. You can get there. There'll be vehicular access and multifamily housing right next to the train station. That is transit-oriented development in a nutshell. That is the vision that people are looking for. And that is the future for Long Island to attract the new millennials. So we're on the right track, not just because we know it intuitively, we see it in the numbers. Long Island today, we've added 140,000 jobs. Long Island has more private sector jobs than have ever existed on Long Island before. That's what we've done for the economy. When we started, unemployment rate was 7.1. We've cut it by more than half to 3.5. And that's what it's all about, is getting people jobs, growing the economy, creating a tax base. And with this vision of transit-oriented development, with the new Long Island Railroad transformation underway, so when you get on the train, it's not going to be a commute from hell. It'll be a new station. It's going to be a new car. And when they say 26 minutes, it'll actually be 26 minutes. That is the future of Long Island. And you are making it happen. And it's a pleasure to participate in, and it's a pleasure to watch. Congratulations.
Please welcome Executive Director of the Hicksville Chamber of Commerce, Lionel Chitty.
Thank you, Governor. This is an exciting day for Hicksville. Governor Cuomo's downtown revitalization initiative has been instrumental in transforming cities and towns across the state. And today we are seeing the DRI investments bear fruit right here in Hicksville. In today's evolving economy, people increasingly want to live and do business downtown close to public transit. So these DRI projects are exactly the investments we need to attract people and businesses downtown and fuel economic activity. From transforming access to the Long Island Railroad Station to ease the commute and improve surrounding neighborhood to providing critical funding to draw businesses to downtown, these investments will catalyze growth for decades to come. It's clear that Governor Cuomo recognizes the tremendous potential here in Hicksville, and these investments are tapping into that potential. So I want to thank the Governor for his vision and his commitment to economic growth right here in Hicksville and across Long Island. And I want to thank everyone who is here helping us turn these ambitious projects into a reality. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and enjoy this beautiful day, and thank you for Hicksville.